Hello guys, thank you for coming back to my channel. I think it feels very funny to say that actually. From the title of this video, you can already see this is last few days leading up to resumption in law school. This is August 27th, Pastor Nat's birthday. I joined Hallelujah Challenge. I must say I'm so grateful and I'm going to testify. Entered the month of August, the Lord told me that it was going to be a month of intimacy where I would grow in love of Him. That love will bring to me more than I think my energy would bring. And I think that's a very funny dynamic. You know, scripture tells us that three things will last forever: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Why did the Lord say that love is so important? Why love? It means there is so much power in love. There's so much that love can do that we are yet to experience. This is 1 week to resumption. So we're resuming next week, Monday, which is September the 2nd, 2024. It's been nerve-wracking.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I typically tell a lot of stories on this channel, and today will not be any different. Today I'm going to be telling a story that I have wanted to share for the longest time. It is a story about how God healed my heart after law school when I had gotten the result that was contrary to that which I had prayed for. On the 18th of April 2025, I sat on the floor in the early hours of the morning and checked my Nigerian Law School results. My first thought was that cannot be my result. A whole me, a whole Valerie. It cannot simply be me, because my entire personality revolved around being serious, reading, working hard, and doing well. So for context, a red scroll, which is known as first class, is one of the highest honors that any Nigerian law school student wants to achieve. It is a statement of excellence, determination, and hard work. And I had a friend group where we studied together, read together, and at the forefront of all our minds was getting a first class. It was a dream come true. We prayed about it, we studied hard, we read, and so when I saw that result that morning, it was like all hell broke loose. I cried so hard because it felt like I had failed at something I built my entire personality around for the past 6 years. But looking back now, I think that was also the moment that something in me finally broke open. Because even before that result, I had started asking myself a question I was afraid to answer. I had studied law for 6 years, and as an art student where I come from, law felt like one of the few respectable options to choose from. Nobody really told us that you could make money from things like writing, filmmaking, storytelling, art. Those things were seen as things that were hobbies, things that you did in your spare time, and if you were lucky, among the few people, you would make money from it. But it was never presented as a career option or a choice. And so eventually, after 6 years of practicing law and seeing the results of something that I had tied my identity to for that period of time, I decided that it was time that I give other parts of myself a choice, because I felt like the worst already happened. I mean, the worst thing that could ever happen was that I didn't get the first class. I felt like I had let everyone down. I felt like I had let myself down, let my parents down, let my mentors down. I cried and I wailed like somebody died when I saw the result that morning. At some point, I had to ask myself, like, Valerie, hope is just results and is nothing more. And I remember on the third day, I felt the Holy Spirit ask me, Valerie, how long are you going to keep crying? And he literally presented me with two options: that I can either decide to stay here and mourn an identity that I thought belonged to me, or I can decide to take that same result and choose to see it for the good. And sure as you know it, I remember just sitting there on the third day and I realized that I could not keep wallowing. I can't keep crying about the result that I wish I had but didn't have, because the truth is life will go on. And so the moment I set my mind that I was going to try this other option of storytelling, there was no roadmap, no guarantee that it would work. And honestly, there were many moments I wondered if I was making a terrible decision. And looking back now to the person I was then, here are 5 things I wish I could go back and tell her. Number 1, a first class does not determine your opportunities or your lot in life. Anyone who goes to the Nigerian Law School knows what the red scroll represents. It's not just a scroll. It represents excellence, years of work, and surviving a system that is notoriously difficult. And I remember it being so difficult seeing people have the result that I wanted, but I had a decision to make in that moment that I was not going to let this result determine the course of my life. And so the moment I set my mind that I was going to try this other option of storytelling, the months that followed were filled with intense work, prayer, studying. I studied, asked questions, and I put myself in rooms where I didn't feel like I was the smartest. And one thing I will say is I became less afraid of looking foolish. And it taught me something I wish I had understood earlier. Sometimes we give a single achievement far too much authority over our future. A first class can open doors, and yes, good grades matter, but it doesn't get to define your lot in life. Law school and any other academic achievements you will ever achieve is only one part of your story and not the entirety of your character all your capacity in life. The second lesson that I learned is that what people think of you doesn't matter as much as you think it does. There's a balance here, because the Bible does say that a good name is better than riches. So yes, I'm not saying the reputation doesn't matter. Integrity matters. The kind of person you are matters. But when it comes to doing the thing that God has called you to do, I believe that people don't matter as much as we think they do. When I started YouTube, I was worried about what people would think. Oh my God, I was obsessing every week what people were saying about me. I was assuming in my head that people must be saying, oh, this girl that didn't finish with a first class, and then she's here uploading videos every week, not working in the law firm. Like, how silly could she be? We overestimate our importance in the eyes of people. The people you think are talking about you are trying to figure out their own lives. They are as confused as you are. And yet, here we are thinking that we are some figures that people are like, oh, camera, action, lights. They're thinking about you every single time. People are not thinking about you as much as you think they are. And so their opinion, in light of what God has asked you to do, doesn't really matter. The more I showed up every week, the more people showed up. And I realized something very important about doing that people often perceive you according to how you perceive yourself. If you're constantly apologizing for what you are doing, people will also see it as something you should be apologizing for. If you show up doing something thinking and believing that it is silly, people will also look at you as being silly. If you think about it, everybody in society today who has accomplished something phenomenal has gone through this process of looking foolish for a while. But at the end of everything, people always do catch up. And now we use their lives as examples for people who want to do something similar. When you believe that God has called you to do something, you cannot and should not allow the opinion of other people who are trying to determine and figure out their own lives determine whether you will take the next step or not. The third thing that I learned from that season was document your journey. Oh my God, this is the one that I feel so excited about. I am an advocate, and advocate literally because I'm a lawyer, duh. But I'm an advocate for documenting your life. And I don't mean document your life to get views. I don't mean document your life to just make money, even if all of those things can come from documenting your life. But I mean document your life because you need evidence of your own becoming. One of the reasons I've become so intentional about sharing my faith, my journey, my thought processes on the internet is because I want to go back 5 years from now. I want to be able to see what I believed, what I was afraid of, how have I changed, because sometimes we forget that we've changed. And I don't want to live my life without leaving evidence of who I was. I don't want to just be another number among millions and billions of people that lived and existed. I want people to see the journey of where I started from. I'm not ashamed of my small beginnings because I know that this journey that is being unfolded now in my light, I know that other people will see light. So when I'm documenting my life, I'm not just doing it for myself. I mean, think of all the people whose life has blessed you. If they never documented their journey, you would never know all the things they had to get to be where they are now. In fact, you will not even believe their advice when they tell you that they were once small or they were once confused, because there will be no evidence to back it up. So this is why I always tell people to document their life. It doesn't have to be video. It can be journaling. Write it down. Make the video. The fourth thing that I learned from that season is that fear is not always a negative sign. I hate fear. I really do. I genuinely think that fear can be one of the greatest hindrances to progress, because it can keep you from moving when you know you're meant to move at a particular season of your life. And it can also keep you from staying when you're meant to stay in a particular season in your life. My dad used to say something to me on the days and weeks where I would want to go back. And he would say to me that, Valerie, if you were not scared of this process, then it's not the process that you should be on. And the first time he said it, I was like, what? And he said, yeah, if you are on this path and you feel so sure, you know the outcome, you know where you will be 10 years from now, then he's like, that's not the path you should be on. And at first, when he would say it, it wouldn't make sense to me. But the older I've gotten, I have understood it more. Because if every single one of us, regardless of the path that we find ourselves in, know every single step, then there will be no need for faith. If you know the beginning, middle, and end of your life, then what would be the need for trusting God? I think sometimes when I'm afraid, the problem is not that I'm on the wrong path, is that things are not happening as quickly as I want it to happen. The perfect story for this definitely has to be the children of Israel. They leave Egypt and God delivers them through this massive Red Sea. So they've experienced the mighty, wondrous working power of the Lord. He literally opened the sea for them. They walked across dry land. hand and he delivered them from their oppressors. And I can imagine these people seeing that God has already divided the Red Sea, just thinking, wow, we've been set free. Life is just going to be sweet and good from here on. But then they get to the wilderness and they're hungry and thirsty, and suddenly they start remembering Egypt's food. And they tell Moses things like, you should have let us when we're in Egypt. We were having onion and food and we had enough to eat and drink. And I'm always fascinated about that, because Egypt was also the place where these people were enslaved. I believe what every single one of us can take from that story is that discomfort has a way of making what was once familiar look like the better option. And we are all guilty of this. We experience a bit of uncertainty and suddenly our old life, our old path, our old career, our old relationships look safer. But sometimes the fear you're experiencing isn't telling you to go back. It's proof that you need to trust God more. And don't get me wrong, there's wisdom in knowing when something isn't working and being willing to pivot. So I'm not saying stay somewhere simply because you're afraid to leave. I'm saying learn to discern the difference between fear that is warning you and fear that is simply asking you to trust. Last but not the least, allow God's process take its full course on you. We've been taught to think about life in tiers. You finish secondary school and then you go to university and then you go to NYSC and then you go to law school and then you go and get your master's, and if you want to do a PhD, you go and get your PhD, and then marriage and then children and then maybe another milestone that you hit eventually in your life. And so somehow we've built our lives around the next thing. But then what happens when God comes and interrupts that pattern of your own next thing? Does it mean that you've lost plots or that you're behind? I've come to realize that nobody has it figured out. Not even the billionaire, not the founder of that business you love. Nobody has it figured out. We are all living life for the very first time. Take for instance today, when I wake up in the morning and I'm scared and I'm like, God, what am I going to do? Sometimes what I tell myself is today is a new day, and God has given me today, the same today he has given me that I'm experiencing for the first time is the same today that a billionaire is experiencing for the first time. It's the same today that a pastor is experiencing for the first time. It's the same today that a founder is experiencing for the first time. We all have the same today. Nobody has experienced today before. We are new to today. In fact, what is going to happen the next hour from now, we are new to it. We have not experienced it before. And I believe God does it that way to put every single one of us on an equal plane. But the difference is that most people have found a way to build processes that have helped them navigate these uncertainties. And the only way to build those processes is by living, failing, making mistakes, winning, and adapting. Every successful person you see today is a product of processes. They are a sum up. We human beings are a sum up of our processes. Nobody just arrived. And inside those processes are things that went wrong, things that went right, things that hurt them, things that humbled them. But in it all is processes that they stayed long enough to build. I know how hard it is to start something and to want to just see it grow. Take for instance YouTube. Anybody who starts posting on YouTube will want their video to blow up the next day or 1 month time. But that is not how life is. When you look at the life of a farmer, it would be crazy for a farmer to plant goods and expect it to grow the next 2 months. That is insane. There is nothing he can do in and of himself to make that seed grow faster. But that's the thing. Our work is to receive the seed, plant the seed, take the steps to continue watering the seeds and doing the thing to ensure that in the long run, the seeds have what it takes to grow. And just maybe our lives are the same as those plants. Maybe things are taking time because they are actually growing roots. And maybe in the seasons that feel slow, something is being built that you cannot yet see. So let your life breathe. To end this video, I'm just going to say that for the longest time, I have always been trying to figure out who I was becoming. And especially when you're in conversations with people and they're asking you questions about what you do and you have to start explaining, oh, I'm a lawyer, I still practice law, but I'm also the storyteller, writer, sometimes YouTuber. But I've come to realize that all those tags cannot fully comprehend who God has called us to be. And your identity is not in what you do or your occupation or your job. Your identity is who you are beneath all of that. And for me, the most important identity of who I am is not a writer. Who I am is not a YouTuber or a filmmaker or a lawyer. Those are things that I do that make up a part of who I am. But who I am is a daughter of the Lord Jesus Christ, and I am okay with that identity. I am okay with that being who I'm rooted in, because careers change, the things you do can change at any time, but who you are beneath all of that remains stable. And please, if this video blessed you, consider liking, commenting, and becoming a part of our community. On this channel, we share videos like this and encouraging your faith walk, your career, and just making you an overall better being. You know what I mean? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.